Hi guys, I'm Ryan Houston and welcome to my fly tying channel. Your video is about to start shortly. Please take this opportunity to hit the like button down below, leave some comments, tell your friends. Interaction, likes, subscriptions help my channel to grow and help me to keep producing content for yourselves. If you're new to my channel, check out the other videos that I've got. There are over 500 videos at this stage, so there should be something there for everybody. Again, video is about to start. Hit that like button down below. Right guys, so what we're going to do here is tie a Holo Deceiver sort of style fly, a fairly simple one. So first of all, what I'm going to use is one of these RX PR320 Predator Stingers in a size 4/0. Set that well down into my vise, and I am going to use a gel spun type thread for this. So this is a 6/0 nano silk. Get that started and get it wrapped on. Take it down to where the flat point of our shank ends. And then just to secure that, I'm going to run a little bit of super glue on it. Now, I'm going to tie in a sort of a supporting structure to the tail, which is going to be one of these straight bits of bucktail from this end of the fly, or of the tail. Get it right yet. So I'm going to cut a bunch of that out. Now, the fibres from that end of the tail don't tend to splay as much. So I'm just going to place that on. Now you can see I've sort of splayed it around the shank. Get a couple of wraps in place and then pull it. Now I don't really want that to splay out too much, so I'm going to move forward onto this bit here and tighten it down. And then I'm going to get some super glue into it and bind it down, neaten it up. So I'm not going to take a little bit of flash for the tail, so I'm going to take a few strands of this pearl crystal here, and I'm going to tie that in so it extends a little bit beyond the tail here that we've created so far. Tie it in and fold it back. So that then doubles the amount of strands that we have in the tail. And I'm going to cut these new strands off at roughly the length that the other ones went to. So the tail then that gives that sort of tapered shape towards the end of it, we're going to use like white schlappen here. So we take a couple of schlappen feathers, trim them off. So I'm going a little bit into the fluffy portion of it here. And I'm going to tie in one on my side, and I'm going to tie in another one to the same length. So measure them for length, trim it off, set that up on the other side of our fly, and bind it in. And that gives us that sort of tapered baitfish sort of profile to the fly already. So now we're just going to extend that as we go on. So I'm just going to secure that with a little bit of super glue. Now if you wanted to really neaten this up, you could take some sort of dubbings and go in here. So if I take a little bit of like a silver synthetic dubbing and basically just cover up my tie-in point there. So I'm going to take another bunch of our bucktail, and I'm going to tie that in the same direction as I tied the other one. Allow it to splay around here, a couple of loose wraps around it, and then tighten into it. That's the place. So the rest of the body is going to sort of consist of these bucktail bunches. So I'm going to get a little bit more flash here. I'm going to take a sort of a magnum pearl flash. I'm going to take a strand and double it over. I'm going to lay that in on the side here. Tie it in place. Then I'm going to split the loop that was created and fold it over to the far side and tie it in. And then just need to glue the application of that. And then I'm going to, as I said, neaten it up with another little bunch of my silver dubbing, although that is not 100% necessary. So now we're going to hollow tie this by reversing our bucktail bunch next time. So take a little bunch of our white bucktail again, and I'm just going to place that on with the tips pointing backwards or the bases pointing backwards this time. Lay in a couple of loose wraps, roughly splay it and tighten into it. And now we want to fold that back on itself. I'm just using a big straw, but you could use a biro or whatever you want. And then, having pulled that back, I'm just going to go in front of it and I'm going to create like a little thread dam to sort of push it back but keep that that volume to it. And to stop that slipping, I'm just going to run super glue on a couple of inches of my thread. And wrap over that and wrap it back into it. So I don't really want to glue all this down as such. Again, we can use our little bit of silver dubbing, create a little dubbing section, and that just advances us forward sort of 5 mil each time. And then I think we'll do one more white section before changing colour. So same again, take our bunch of white, I'm just going to trim up the bases, set it in position, put a lap across it, and then allow it to splay around and tighten. Bind it down. Push it back and hold it in place, and get our thread wraps in front as we did before. So this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a little bit of this silver sort of flashaboo. So I'll take out maybe 5 or 6 strands of that, tie it in on the side across its middle. It'll splay around a little bit, flip this over to the far side and tie it in. And then I'm going to super glue my thread again and just hold this back and create our little thread dam. Back to our dubbing. And now I'm going to change colour in our bucktail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a Chartreuse bucktail. So I'll take a bunch of that, flip it round, allow it to splay a little bit, get our tie and thread around it, allow it to wrap right round and then tighten into it. wraps to hold it in place. And then I'm just going to push it back. Get the tie-in thread in front. Super glue our tie-in thread. And create a little dam in the front there. So I'm going to use another bit at the front here. So you could go back to your white if you want. But what I'm going to do is I am going to use some of the olive section of our Chartreuse bucktail here. Now this tends to be a little bit shorter, but it creates sort of a color change at the front here. So I'll take our little bunch of that. I'm going to even up the bases a little bit. Hold it in position. Put on a couple of loose wraps and then just splay it so it's around the shank, and then as I tighten you can see it roll. Wrap into it. And take our thread to the front. Stroke it all in position. And that is essentially the fly tied. So what I'm going to do is I am going to super glue my tie-in thread here and create the thread dam, which in this case will also be the head. So the idea with this fly is that it's fairly light and mobile. So we're not going to add eyes or an epoxy type head to it. But you could if you wanted so, or you could add something like jungle cock to it if you really wanted to for a sort of an accent of an eyes. But the idea is that this is instead a light fly. So several whip finishes, snip that off, and I'm going to just take my super glue again and just super glue the head. So that is our Holo Deceiver tied. So that's a Pike or Muskie pattern, I suppose. And as you can see, we now have a fly that's what, approximately 7 inches, I'd say, long, fairly lightweight, and easy to cast. So hopefully you like what you see. If you did, give us a like, subscribe, tell your friends, and until next time, tight lines, and thanks for watching.